Hi, I'm Tim from the Heresy Group. This is my Tokyo Marui Scar L. Big change to this platform, and the reason that you're here is the ZenitCo Perst-4. Now, previously to this, I was running the Element 419 LA5 replica. This is the green, red and white light version, and I ran this for many years, and I will be talking about in comparison to this device compared to this, and I will also touch on the GMP D-bow as well, because I ran one of those for a few years too. One of the nicest things about the ZenitCo off the bat is the build quality and how it turned up. It turned up in this little anodized metal container, which kept it lovely and safe during shipment. Pulling the device out, as you can see in the size comparison pictures that I've got up at the moment, it's a much smaller signature and it's a much flatter signature. All the things that we want from a laser aiming device. One of the key things and one of the core reasons for me to get this platform overall was just its capability to dial in. This is a real steel item. And so with that, you get the real steel credentials of being able to dial this platform in well, efficiently, accurately, and the fact that it will hold zero. This is designed to sit at the muzzle end of a 7.62 platform. So because of that, it's going to take all the knocks, bangs and shake that you would get from that platform. So on a weapons platform such as this, it means that it's going to withstand all of those knocks and bangs, not a problem at all. One of the other core reasons about this is the signature. It is much lower, it's much flatter, and it feels a lot more solid on the weapons platform than the plastic sort of Element. There is a lot of reasons that make this a good platform, the Element. And to be honest, up to this point, it's been great. But as I've begun to progress and as I've desired more and more accuracy and better efficiency from my equipment, this just was always the problem whenever I was going out night shooting, whether it lost to zero very slightly. If you push the screws on the side of here, you actually move and manipulate the adjustment of the platform. So any knocks, bangs, you have to be very careful with these. Now, I have modified these, Richie's modified his, and there are videos back on the channel as to how you can make this as most of an efficient platform as possible, but in comparison to the ZenitCo, they are light years apart. So this platform that sits on top of here, it is a red and IR laser platform. It doesn't include white light, it doesn't include IR flood. There are other models that do include that, but they are a lot more pricey and a lot more expensive. All the links will be in the description below. When I was looking at the platform, I thought, you know, what am I losing out on? And essentially I'm losing out on the white light. But I do have a Vampire Surefire replica here, and that does white light. It also does IR as well. So not really losing out on any major functionality off of the platform. Maybe it's easy to get to, but simply enough, I just don't use white light that much on this platform. You know, if we're going into a build and we're doing anything like that, I normally use a head torch or use handheld torch if possible, but I very rarely use white light on this platform. The IR flood on this is very good, and that means that, you know, I've got a lot more reliance on the torch itself rather than you know, the white light on the PEC, which I never really used. One of the core things about this is its build, is the quality of it and the way that it is manufactured and made. It's a full CNC metal bodied unit, so it means it's, you know, incredibly robust. It's definitely very tough, and it's fully waterproof as well. This runs off one CR123A battery, unlike this that runs off two, so you can keep that down, and the mileage on both of them with the batteries is invariably the same. If not, this is slightly better and uses the batteries more efficiently, and obviously because I'm not having that white light. Mounting it up on top then, very easy to, you know, access, to turn this on, to activate it. You've got a button over the top, you've also got a button on the back, both of them taking up the same functionality. We also have adjustable brightness. Where does this come in handy? How is it useful? So on and so forth. Why do people need it? Why is it an important part of this device? Well, if you look at the red laser when it's on full spectrum, it's very bright. It almost has a tail to it, to the back of your weapon. When you turn it all the way down, there is no tail at all, and you just see the spot on the enemy. And also the front glass on this gives off a very little signature when you've got it dialed right the way down. So if you're trying to be sneaky and you're shooting from cover and you do need to use that red laser for whatever reason it may be, that you've got nods up, you're shooting into a bright building, you don't want to blame your nods out, whatever it may be. But if you do need to use that red laser, you can dial it right back so that you are giving off as a little signature as possible. Now the same with the IR, right? Now this is my much more favoured playground is in the IR spectrum, and so when you have that dialed all the way up, you can illuminate inside a building. I've done this many a times with lasers where we've seen movement in a building and we've all huddled in, we've all got eyes on the building, and I've lit one of the rooms up with a very bright IR laser, and that is illuminated the inside of the room, and essentially you can see if people are in there. Just going to go up through the brightnesses now with the IR. Please excuse the filthy lens. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So for things like that, this is really, really handy. When it comes to engaging people, especially if you know that the other team have got night vision, which is becoming more and more popular and more common, especially in the UK airsoft scene. If you dial that all the way down, you're giving off the least signature your end, right? So, you know, I haven't got this bright laser beam coming out the gun. You can dial it all the way down to the point where, you know, that is a very broken beam and you can still see the target spot at the target end. So for me, in those cases, you can use that brightness as a tool to either be kind of almost offensive and then defensive in the case of dialing it all the way back, which for me, again, I really, really like. It's very easy to access, it's very easy to change. There is also a strobing function on this device for both lasers, which I found really handy, especially the red one. Again, it breaks that signature right down. I actually quite like the low strobing feature, which just breaks the laser down a little bit, so it stops, again, any tails leading back to you. It's just going to give off a bit of a lower signature, and yet through your night vision or with your naked eyes, you could still snap that on target if you want to, and use that for aiming, especially if you're doing CQB in a dark environment and you've got your nods up. So that's something that frequently happens, especially when you're really tight, you're fighting in containers, or you're in the small buildings like Stanta or Cope Hill, where there's lots of staircases and there's lots of stuff everywhere. Sometimes, you know, having your nods up is actually easier, especially if you've got a well moonlit light, and then using that red laser at that point is very, very good. So I've been using this now for about the last month. I've run the gun out with it once, really, really enjoyed it, and found that the actual device itself is very, very easy to manipulate because it has this indentation at the top. Unlike this, where it's sometimes with gloves on, it's actually hard to feel where that button is, and I've found that sometimes my thumb goes a little bit further over it, and I've actually been hitting it with like the curved part of my thumb, whereas with this, running your hand across the top, even with gloves on, you feel the dent, you feel the fall off from the outside of the device, which means it's very easy to access. There is also a really nice pressure switch that comes with this. I'm just going to throw the element down for 1 second and open this up. Again, was really impressed with the packaging and the way that this was delivered, and I'm just going to unbag this, and I will put in a close-up now of this device just to show you the difference in the device. So we've got the pressure pad here. Again, this is Picatinny mount, or 22mm Weaver. You've got your continuous mode, or you've got your blinking mode, or you know, your strobing effect, and then at the top with the dial you have your adjustment for brightness. So you can adjust all of the laser on this with this device. So again, you know, a really, really nice feature, really well made, and this runs on a really cool push fit Lemo connector. So again, it's fully waterproof, which is awesome. So it goes in the back and you can mount this anywhere you like on the weapon, as long as it's got the 22mm Weaver, and this comes free with the unit. So again, really, really nice piece of added value by having this. It's a shame they don't do it in M-Lock, but is what it is. I'm sure that with a little bit of work, we could get this to fit onto the M-Lock potentially. Saying that, it almost does with a little push. So definitely something to consider, that could be put onto the M-Lock, or you could put it on your Picatinny straight away. So it comes with English instructions, it comes with some other bits as well in here, and mine actually came with a battery, which is pretty cool. So it literally come out of the box ready to go. The performance from it, the capability to dial it in so easily, has just been absolutely incredible. So I essentially, to dial this in, I won't take you through it in baby steps, a lot of you guys are going to know how to do this, but I know that my razor is dialed in, right? And the issue with the element is that the lasers are not co-aligned, which means they are not firing at the same trajectory at all distances. So they're not co-aligned, and these might be slightly offset, but with the size of the spot as it was, out to 400 meters, I think it is, they are co-aligned. So for me, when I was looking at this device and I was kind of working out how I'd dial it in, I knew that my razor was dialed in. So the illuminated reticle in the middle of this, I dialed the red laser on this to the center of reticle, I turned the reticle off, and then I turned the reticle back on again, and they were exactly aligned behind one another. So when I then switched it over, got my nods on, flipped my nods down, put it to IR, and I fixed my gun in the clamp system like this, fired it down to the end of my garden, and then I was flicking between red and IR, and the spots were perfectly behind one another. I did let out a small tear at this point. It's something that I've wanted from my PEC units, from my GMP, from all of the other lasers that I've tried up to this point. That's something I've always wanted, because it makes dialing in the device so much easier. So I knew that my red laser was co-aligned to my razor, which I trust in the razor dial-in, absolutely. And then from the red laser, the IR laser is also dialed in as well, because they're co-aligned. So it took me 5 minutes, maybe maximum 10 minutes, to completely dial in something brand spanking new, when I have genuinely spent hours dialing one of these in. Turn, think that I've got it in the right space, gone out, checked, come back, and it's way too far over. I've turned it back a little bit, and the spring has moved, or the retention has kind of moved or bounced within the unit, and it's thrown it completely out. I've put a couple of shots through it, changed it, and then I'm way back over again. So these things to dial in are an absolute nightmare. They don't hold zero particularly well, and yet in comparison to this unit, obviously much more expensive, but lower signature, much more robust body, and then you do have that capability of having co-aligned lasers. I've been absolutely blown away by the Perst, as you could probably imagine. You know, it's going from a replica toy to something of real steel quality and build, and so with that, it is to be expected that you're going to have a much better result. And if you are after a higher performing, more efficient piece of kit, then you're going to get that in the real steel market over than the replica market like these. The features of this really complement it. If you are after something with lights on it, lasers, floods and that sort of thing, please check out the rest of the ZenitCo range. They do lasers all the way up to about 1,600, 1,700 quid, which is still very cheap in comparison to you know, buying something off the black market. So that pretty much wraps up my kind of overview. I will put some video in, some footage of it now, and if you have any questions about this, if there's anything you want to ask, please let me know. This is kind of a bit of an off-the-cuff review, and I really want to cover this again once I've been out on the ground with it for the day, and do, you know, some footage of this at distance, and also through the nods and stuff. But I did want to get a review up. I've had lots of questions about it. I am blown away by it. A massive thank you to the guys over in Russia for getting this out to me. Again, you know, please be cautious that this may get held in customs for a little while, and the delivery track for it may be a little bit difficult. For me, it was definitely painful. It took a couple of weeks to turn up, so just keep that in mind. If you have stayed listening to me ramble about the Perst until this long, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel and you put a like on the video. I'd really appreciate that. Lots more content to come in the next few weeks, so thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon.